protesting against serious problems with the church locally and also the...
Surely one has to be tolerant?
No, and in fact they're not. My protest has everything to do with them not being tolerant. And in fact they're not tolerant of this protest. So.
But I don't understand. Why would anybody be in favor of pedophilia and rape?
I'm not saying that they are, but what they have done is they've tried to hide it. When there's have been cases of pedophilia and rape in their church by ministers and Sunday school teachers, they've tried to hide it. And they even went so far as...
I would think it's more the Catholic Church that has been doing this.
Well, the Catholic Church has been doing this.
You're
of course, but it's not just the Catholic Church. See, that's the thing. A lot of people think only in terms of the Catholic Church. But the fact of the matter is most religious communities have some sexual abuse. You can't have 1,000 or 10,000 or 1 million members and not have some pedophiles and rapists in there. So then it's a question, well, how does the church respond to that when it happens? And in the case of the Unitarian Universalist religion, they've even tried to...
Aren't your arms going to get tired?
They might. They might, but I can...
And what's with the camera?
I have to record my protests because they've assaulted me, they've brought false accusations against me.
But you're not taking photographs of people.
I record everything.
What?
I record everything. I document the protest.
You can take my photograph if you like.
Right. Would you like me to?
I'm going in there.
What?
I'm going in
Okay,
there.
okay. Well, you feel free to ask them what it's all about, but if you want, I'll take your photograph. Is this your first time here?
I'm smiling.
Yeah, I can see from behind the mask. You can see your smiling eyes. Which were...
Well, I'm interested in everything that goes on.
Right. Well, unfortunately...
And did they put these bubbles?
Yes, they put that. I think it's probably celebratory, but knowing their past behavior, I think it's partly to hide my protest because it's harder to see my picket signs with all these balloons. I think it's a possibility. I'm not saying it for sure, but knowing the crazy things they've done in the past.
All I can say is we're lucky that we live in Canada.
Right.
And that you can do this.
Well, guess what? See, one of my protests is because they've actually brought criminal charges against me to shut me down.
Because what?
They've brought criminal charges against me more than once to shut down the protest.
Oh.
And they've actually been able to shut it down now for about a total of about 4 years.
Really?
I've been protesting since 1998, and as a result of Trump...
Has it done you any good?
Well, actually, I do enjoy it, so I enjoy talking to people and everything.
I suppose
but,
it makes you feel good.
Yeah, and I have a mostly positive response from the public, and I do believe that I am raising awareness to these issues. Like you brought up the issue of the Catholic Church.
Well,
Thank you for all the balloons. That's beautiful.
I think they're welcoming me back. They're welcoming back the protester.
I'm an old lady.
Right.
Many years ago, I was a social worker.
Right.
And I was a child welfare consultant to
Right.
the Alberta government.
Right.
And part of my job was to train the RCMP awareness in sexual abuse.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
You can imagine my job in Alberta.
Right.
So I'll just tell you this as a little anecdote. I had one group and I had some information and I told them to read it and then I would circulate among the table. So there was a young woman with a gun in her holster.
Right.
And I said to her, now, what is your reaction? Excuse my language. What is your reaction when you come face to face with a perpetrator?
Right.
Oh, she said, I just take my gun and shoot him in the balls. And this was my job to train them how to do interviews.
I'm sure she was joking, but...
No, she was dead serious.
Are you serious?
Oh, absolutely. She thought they should do that.
No, but I mean, a police officer can't just come along and shoot someone in the balls.
But,
And
look,
I mean...
I'm talking a long time ago in the 80s. And that was the attitude.
Right.
So...
well, you want to know what the church's attitude is?
Sorry?
The church's attitude, and when I speak about the church, I mean the big head office in Boston, because the Unitarian Universalist Church is essentially a North American church. It's mostly American churches. In 2012, they had me served with a cease and desist demand letter by a Montreal lawyer, a big corporate law firm, and they accused me of violating Canada's blasphemy law because I'd blogged about just a few cases of pedophilia and rape of children. And they wanted these to disappear. They wanted me to take down these blog posts. And so they
No, I
threatened
think
to...
this is excellent. I
Thank
think
you.
this is very good because at least it starts a conversation.
Well, except they don't want to talk. I'm ready to talk. They don't want to talk. That's why I'm outside protesting.
Well,
They've had a decade. Like, I'm talking about 2012 in terms of the...
we spoke.
Yes, no, we have it. And feel free to raise the issue inside. I'd be very happy if you did.
I haven't been in this place for 2 years.
Right.
So I'll go in there and I'll tell them I think this is an excellent idea.
Thank you.
Good
And
luck
you
to you.
can tell them I'm very thankful for the balloons and the bubbles.
Right. And I'll tell them that balloons is a waste of plastic.
Catch you later. Thanks. Good talking with you. Thank you very much. Well, that was a good conversation. Enjoyed that one. I wonder if we got it all. Oh, yes, we did. Excellent. So, this is an example of what happens a fair bit when someone who's actually coming to attend the Unitarian Church of Montreal sees my protest. You know, most of the reactions of the actual congregants are negative, but occasionally you do get basically a visitor, someone who hasn't been coming all that often, and maybe just curious about the church, and they see my protest, and they talk to me about it, and they essentially come around to agreeing and supporting and so on, which is exactly what happened in this case. And this woman is saying that she actually dealt with, child welfare in the past, so she actually has some knowledge and experience about such issues. And she said she will have a chat with people, so that really couldn't be much better. Good morning.
Good morning.
You can go by, no worries. I think the balloons are blocking the sidewalk more than I am. It's a lot of people are now stepping into the street because of the balloons as much as anything else, not to mention the bubbles. Maybe I should call in a complaint to the SPVM about obstructing circulation with bubbles and balloons. Montreal Unitarians have repeatedly accused me of obstructing circulation on the sidewalk in efforts to get rid of me. I've had several SPVM police officers, make that claim, that I'm blocking pedestrian traffic and so on. Well, I don't know. These balloons are sort of in the way. Anyhow, we'll see. But we're off to a very, very good start today in terms of our protest. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it yet, but besides being the second service where the Unitarian Church of Montreal is open to congregants, real life people coming to church, it is the theme of today's sermon and service, and even general meeting in the afternoon, is all about oppression and internal oppression. The Unitarian Universalist Association promoted a 8th principle to be added to Unitarian Universalism's 7 principles, and this 8th principle essentially speaks about internal oppression within the church and addressing that. Well, I can assure you that I have certainly dealt with a significant amount of internal oppression within the Unitarian Church of Montreal and the Unitarian Universalist Association, and the same can be said for the vast majority of people who dare to complain about clergy misconduct, sexual or otherwise. The minute somebody claims or complains about clergy misconduct, the church almost invariably backs the minister to the hilt and turns around and tries to silence the complainant in various ways. So definitely quite a lot of internal oppression involved when someone complains about Unitarian Universalist clergy misconduct. So this young lady's walking back and forth for some reason. A little wave there. I think she's using her phone for navigation purposes and overshot her destination, and it's obviously not the Unitarian Church in Montreal. So I've got some cyclists, and I expect my half hours of being a nice affirmative nod there. So far, very positive response to my protest this morning, my second protest since the Unitarian Church of Montreal opened its doors to congregants, and my fourth since I was acquitted of the, in fact, quite ridiculous breach of conditions charges at Sue Montgomery persuaded the Crown to bring against me. I was essentially accused of breach of conditions for asking Montreal Mayor Valerie Plante the question about the questionable behavior of her Deputy Mayor Sue Montgomery during the public questions period of a Montreal City Council meeting after my release conditions after being arrested had been reduced to specifically allow me to participate in city council meetings that are open to the public. So as far as I was concerned, I was acting within my rights to ask Valerie Plante a question about Sue Montgomery at a city council meeting. But Sue Montgomery and the SPVM and the Crown disagreed. And so we had a big old criminal trial and a hanging judge. I'm using that term because it's actually a term that a top Montreal criminal defense lawyer used to describe Dennis Galiatis. He told me, "You have a hanging judge," and he...
Are you crazy?
No, actually, the Unitarian Universalists who accuse me of blasphemous libel for blogging about pedophilia and rape are crazy. Also, the Unitarian Universalists who deny any sexual abuse in the Unitarian Church are crazy. But feel free to think I'm crazy, old lady. And feel free to be one of those crazy Unitarian Universalists who think there's zero sexual abuse in their church and zero cover-up and denial of sexual abuse. So this does happen. People call me crazy for protest. Absolutely.